What if I told you that for countless kids, having a home would be their greatest wish? But for children in foster care, the journey is often bouncing from house to house and family to family. But that's where the Kindness Project comes in. Based in the Lehigh Valley region of Pennsylvania, a team of volunteers led by Jenae Holtzhafer are working to take this journey with those kids, making every step a little bit easier. They join us tonight to talk about what they do and why they do it. That's all coming up right here, right now. I'm Sam Chen, and this is Face the Issues. Good evening and welcome to Face the Issues. I'm Sam Chen. For countless kids, having a place to call home is their greatest wish. But with the foster care system, kids are often bounced from house to house and family to family, sometimes with no end in sight. Jenae Holtzhafer is the founder and executive director of the Kindness Project. She stepped away from her successful career to try to partner with these kids and their families along this journey. She joins us tonight. Jenae, welcome to Face the Issues. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having us.
It is so great to have you here, and you are coming to us from the Kindness Exchange, which is your home base. We're going to talk about that here in a moment. But Jenae, let's just start with the big picture. I think everybody knows what foster care is. Everybody knows that it's a thing that exists. We may even know people or have grown up with kids who were in foster care, but very few people understand the ins and the outs of it. Just from what you've seen in this field, what are the great challenges for kids who are in foster care?
Well, I think that feeling of belonging is really critical. You know, you're kind of just pulled out of what you know and where you feel you belong, and then having to go into this strange world of new people and smells and things. And it's a scary time. There's a lot of trauma just in that transition. So we're very aware of that. And so what we try to do at the Kindness Exchange, which is our first shop where we started in Emmaus, is to build relationships with the children as they come to visit and make them feel that sense of belonging to something and having people around them who are, you know, kind and care about them.
Are there different, assuming there are different reasons that a kid or a child would go into foster care. In our area or in the area where we are, what generally is the trigger for this?
There's a lot of reasons kids go into care. I would say right now, primarily you're looking at children who are being neglected, food insecurity and housing issues. You know, homelessness is a big one. Some children are found living in cars. And then, of course, the abuse factor. So there's obviously a lot of issues with substance abuse for parents. And so through COVID and all the challenges that have kind of hit our country and the world over the last few years, we've seen an increase in those issues, which then leads to an increase in kids being put into the foster care system.
And that was my next question, which is, have we, and to your point, we've seen an increase then in how many kids are entering the foster care system?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And strangely, this month alone, going through August, we saw double the numbers that we've ever seen in a month. So we registered 65 new children just in August, and that was prior to the school year starting. So once school starts, usually September through the holidays is our busiest time. There's a lot of triggers during the holidays for families, which may lead to more substance abuse. Obviously, teachers, educators are mandated reporters, so they're seeing things and hearing things in the classroom. And, you know, once things are investigated and they're validated, a lot of those kids are coming into care as well.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because you talk about the different ways that kids will be taken from their families and put into foster care. And, you know, the court system, their first priority is to keep a family together. And so to think about how significant and severe those situations have to become, and then to hear that those numbers have doubled and that we're going to see this increase through the fall, it's heartbreaking to hear that. It's more than just a statistic. These are kids. I mean, lives, any life, right, that's ruined is difficult, but these are kids.
It's Extremely difficult. And that's why when we're looking at volunteers, because we are like 99% volunteer run, I'm the only real staff, we really take that into consideration because we have to have people in here who can just be, you know, completely accepting, completely private about what these kids are going through, and also be strong themselves because you're seeing the worst case scenarios. And a lot of times those kids are coming into our space right after being pulled from their family because they need everything. So it's a difficult job, but it's a necessary job.
Yeah, let me ask you about the Kindness Project. That is the name of your organization. Tell me, what is the Kindness Project? And of course, you're in the Kindness Exchange, and so that's the next question. What's the Kindness Exchange, and what role does it play within the project?
So the Kindness Project is our nonprofit, and that's the overarching name of, you know, the nonprofit itself. And then we have this facility here in Emmaus called the Kindness Exchange. And so that's the shop where the kids can come with their foster families and basically get everything that they need when they go into a new home. Most times children come with nothing. Sometimes it's a baby just wearing a diaper. Many times we see kids coming with no shoes and we don't know what size they need. So we literally sit here and like try shoes on until we know what fits them best. So we are excited about the expansion of the Kindness Project into the Pocono region. We have a second physical location that we call the Kindness Cottage. It's a small house. So we try, you know, there's a distinguishing factor there between the physical spaces. And we were hoping that would happen one day, which it has.
And that is fantastic. And when did the project begin? When did you start the Kindness Project?
So my husband and I initially were on a path to be foster parents, and we went through the training through Salvation Army Children's Services, and that's where we just were educated on a lot and realized there was no support to foster families once they signed up. So our path changed a little bit. We never got to foster, but we definitely still have it on our radar for when things kind of settle down here and I get a few more staff. But it's we just saw the need. And so we started collecting donations in our dining room in the fall of 2017. And then it grew very rapidly. The community response was huge. And then we saw the need was so huge. And it's been a very organically grown nonprofit that has served over 1,100 children so far. And we cover all of Eastern Pennsylvania at this point. We've had families from Central Pennsylvania even drive down here for bunk beds and all the things they need. We are just so blessed by the community's support. It's 100% donation based. And that's why we called it the Kindness Project. We just could not believe the outpouring of kindness and support to get this off the ground. And it just continues to grow as awareness is brought to it.
And it's grown quick. I mean, we're talking a few years and you've got your second location open already.
Yeah, and we actually purchased this property, which is a true blessing because now we don't have the fear of having to move again and we can do what we want with it. And it's just been awesome. And it has 2 acres. So our next vision for this is to expand into enrichment opportunities for the kids and really build that sense of community. So we see this more as a foster care community center now, a hub for resource families. You know, it's families who are traditional foster parents like my husband and I would have been, or we have a lot of kinship families who are grandparents or aunts or uncles, cousins who are taking children in so they don't end up in the general system. And we're supporting them as well. So we have visions of doing, you know, free tutoring, free music lessons, fun movie nights and bonfire nights out on the lawn, just lots of stuff ready to, you know, expand into coming up in the next year.
That is really neat. Jenae, walk us through when a kid and a family walks into the Kindness Exchange, what's available to them there?
It's really everything they could ever need. And if we don't have something, our community is amazing. Our social media presence is huge. We're very active on there. And so, for instance, I had a child who has braces on his legs who needed special kinds of shoes. That's not something we typically would get in a donation. So I found it on Amazon, put it out there to social media, and within an hour, those shoes were purchased and shipped right to us. So, your general essentials, we've got clothing, shoes, hygiene items, pajamas, we've got new car seats, all the baby equipment you could imagine, beds, mattresses, and all the fun stuff, games. This is over here, what I call my Barnes and Noble section. It's all new games and puzzles and books. And we just do our best to have all the fun things too. We had a donation of over 200 Squishmallows come in, which are huge right now. So hundreds of kids have gotten Squishmallows over the last month. And it's just a fun place. It's a bright place, and it's a very warm and welcoming place for them.
Jenae, let me ask you this. You had a very successful career prior to starting the Kindness Project. Why walk away from that career? You're young. A lot of people would say, look, just invest in yourself. Why walk away from that to start a nonprofit? For our viewers who are in nonprofits, they know this, but for those who aren't, nonprofit are hard work. They're very hard to start. There's a lot of people who pledge a lot or who verbally will support it, but when rubber meets the road, they can be very difficult. Why walk away from your career to start this?
It was a really hard decision, and it was before COVID. To be honest with you, there was a day where I said, God, I need you to tell me what to do. And I said, I dared it. I was like, open my Bible and tell me what I'm going to do. And I opened to the verse, literally to the verse that said, speak for those who cannot speak for themselves. And it still brings tears to my eyes, because I just couldn't believe I had such a direct answer of the direction that I should be going in. And that's really what decided it for me, honestly, because I also loved my other job. I was working with kids from underserved communities and, teaching them about career awareness and professional development. And it was awesome, but that was my answer. And it was definitely the right answer, because things have really, like I said, happened organically and have been amazing.
And Jenae, you talked about how you and your husband thought about being foster parents, and you said not yet. And yet, in so many ways, you guys are foster parents like a foster parent to all the foster families throughout the region. And I know they appreciate what you guys do day in and day out. Last question, how can people support the work that you do at the Kindness Project?
Yeah, we are, like I said, we're 100% donation based, and we can't do this without the community. So we have a lot of ways. You can always check our Amazon wish list, which is on our website. That's constantly being updated with immediate needs. We obviously accept financial donations. The links for PayPal and Venmo are on our website, or if you'd like to mail a check, you can email us and we'll send the address. Really, donation drives are a huge part of sustaining what we do. So we have a lot of faith-based groups that get together and do donation drives, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, school groups. Everything matters. So if anybody has questions, they can email us and we can talk about ideas.
And that website is kindnessprojectlv.org. Jenae, thank you for what you do. Thank you for taking the time to join us. Really appreciate it, and looking forward to seeing all the great things that you and your organization do.
Thank you so much, Sam. It was really great to be here with you. Thanks for bringing awareness to what we're doing.
Absolutely, it's our pleasure. When we come back, we'll be sitting down with a board member from the Kindness Project, taking in how she sees the work and why she gets involved. That's all coming up right after these messages.
Face the Issues is produced and recorded in the studios of Lighthouse TV. Positively different.
Welcome back to Face the Issues, and we're now joined by Takira Bats, who is a board member at the Kindness Project. Takira, welcome to Face the Issues. Thanks so much for being here.
Hi, Sam. Thank you very much.
It is so great to have you here, and we just heard from Jenae, your friend, somebody you work with, about the Kindness Project, why it started. Let me ask you, you're a board member and you volunteer there.
Yeah.
What, from your perspective, you have a different view than Jenae does. What do you see as the impact that the Kindness Project makes?
Sure. So it is endless. Everything that we do is it's just immaculate. So when you're in there is really when it comes to fruition. And when you're serving the families, you can see, you're with the kids, you're with the foster parents, the people making the sacrifices, and you're providing them with dignity 24/7. And I think that's one of the biggest things, is to be able to sit there with them and say, yes, this is all yours. There's nothing you owe us, and everything like that. It truly means the world to give them that.
I like the way you phrased that. You said you're blessing them with dignity.
Yes.
When you've interacted with the families, you've interacted with the kids. Is there a difference when they come in and when they leave?
Oh, yes. Yeah, there is a great difference. So typically when they come in, the foster families are more open than the children, but you can watch the children. I've seen teens who are just kind of like, slink away. And then after a few minutes, when you show them the Vans, or you show them the different, Adidas sweatshirts, or all the clothing, all the fun items, the books, et cetera, that they can get, they immediately light up. And I have seen a number of our teens, when we tell them they can take a stuffed animal. Like, these are teens, right?
Yeah.
And you tell them they can take a stuffed animal, and they are just absolutely elated. And by the end, you're talking, things, they're teaching me things, we're having open conversations. It's really wonderful.
And that's a fairly quick turnaround. We hear about this connection. I mean, obviously, Jenae talked about building relationships, right? Relationships take a while to build, I get that. But even just to get someone to open up like that, we often hear it takes months and months and years, and really one visit to the kindness exchange.
Yeah, so I feel like it's beneficial because most of us, and a lot of us, take the TBRI training, which is the trust-based relational, I blanked on the last word.
Something.
It's an I, and it's really, really wonderful. And I took a training with Robin at Faith Church, and it was a wonderful experience, but it teaches you how to, you get on their level, their trauma. They have all this trauma, and you have to speak to them like they're a person. You let them make their own decisions. You give them the power. And you also have to read the room when they come in. And I think that's what allows it to be so open, is that, as a volunteer, you're kind of in charge of the narrative. So you walk in and you're there with them, and you have to realize you can't just be like, oh my gosh, hello, hi. You kind of have to work with them and get them to open up. And I think that's where it allows that, 30-minute time frame, 30 minutes to an hour, typically what they sign up for you to be able to open up and provide them.
That's so neat. And I love your shout out to Robin. She was brought on at Faith Church in Allentown, really to do work like this. And to this has been a big part of that church's mission, and she's fantastic. Really knows her stuff, great leader. I love the shout out you just gave her.
She taught me well.
She does. She's very good, and I'm glad that you guys are connected with her at the Kindness Project. Well, let me ask you this: you're a board member, you work elsewhere. Why get involved, right? And there's always this idea of, okay, we serve on the board, and there's some boards that people fight to serve on because of prestige and so on. And then there are boards with a lot of nonprofits where serving on it is a ton of work, and sometimes it can be a thankless job. And you're doing this on top of working full time. Why did you get involved, and why the Kindness Project for you?
Sure. So when I moved to the Valley, I was looking for an opportunity to volunteer, and a great friend of mine had recommended the Kindness Project. So I started volunteering, and then very quickly fell in love. And I knew that it was something I wanted to deeply get involved in. And at the same time, I had the opportunity with the organization I'm with to attend a board training class. And I was telling Jenae about it, and I said, maybe can I talk to some of our board members, gather some information? And she was like, well, why don't you see how it goes, and maybe you can be a board member too. So it worked out great and immaculate, but it was almost, I saw what we were doing, and I couldn't walk away or not contribute as much as I am, because it just doesn't feel right. It has such a special place in my heart. After I've served these kids, I can see what's happening. I see all the hard work that's put into it. I truly couldn't say, it's not for me.
That's really neat. So you began this journey as a volunteer.
Yeah.
So you weren't on the board at the very beginning. You came to volunteer. What made you want to volunteer with this group?
Sure. So it was a complete guess. It was the first thing that was recommended to me, and I said, I'll try it. Right? Kids are the future of tomorrow.
Sure.
We have to cultivate them. We have to provide them with everything they need to succeed. So let's try this out. So I went through all the orientations, and as I was hearing Jenae speak, I was like, there's something about this. It's really like sparking my heart right now. And then, like I said, as I was there, I realized the need is so, so large, and we can't ignore it. And I feel like, I had the very fortunate childhood of being able to be with my family. And I feel like everybody just deserves to be loved and to be welcomed and to belong. And I hope that my helping cultivates that for them.
Yeah, and I imagine it does. And sometimes we don't always see big the impact is that we make. We see just these ripples. I think it's always harder when you're the one that's in it to always necessarily gauge the size of that impact. It's really neat how you talked about this you kind of got just it fell into your lap. It was recommended to you. You decided to take it. Sometimes the best involvement, the best things that we do come somewhat by accident.
Yeah, they find us.
Yeah, so you volunteered, you decided to join the board. Let me ask you about just from what you do as a volunteer and your role on the board, what kinds of things do you do? Are you still involved? And I know you just did the volunteer training, I think.
Yeah.
So what are the kinds of things that you do as a board member to help the mission of the Kindness Project?
So I would say a lot of my board member-esque is volunteering. So I really, I love being in the shop. I love being there. I was there last night to drop off something. You know, I have a bunch of stuff in my car now to drop off tomorrow morning. So we have our monthly shifts. So I'll be there 8 to 11 tomorrow morning. But I really feel like I do a lot of different things, but it almost like doesn't even touch the surface of everything we do. So I'm the chair of our special events committee. So I help, coordinate and run about 6 special events we have a year, and those are all grassroots efforts. We're doing fun things in the community that they invite us to, and then I help coordinate and plan it, and then get the volunteers to come with us to do that. And then I also sit in on all of the board meetings. I volunteer monthly for that 3-hour time frame, if not more. And then miscellaneous things that come up. I make labels for the shop so things are more organized, or our current event is having raffle prizes. So a friend and I are working on making the labels for it. So really kind of anything that comes up, I will do in my capability range. Yeah,
well, first, your capability range is very large. I've known you for a while. It's very large.
Yeah.
And I think just shows the challenge again of this nonprofit, of a nonprofit, where your board members are really pitching in. We always call it time, talent, treasure.
Yep.
And so you're either giving money, you're giving your talents, or you're giving your time. I think that's really neat. Let me ask you this: community members, nonprofits run on community members as yourself.
Yeah.
How can members of the community get involved? I know there's a lot of different ways, but what are some of the ways that they can get involved to help?
Yeah, so our website, thekindnessprojectlv.org, actually has a lot of wonderful ways that it says how to help.
Okay.
Right, so there's different ways. So it's going through the donation page, or it's going to the Amazon list, to our website, and then also talks about our volunteers. So a lot of the time, people think of volunteers as, you're just in the shop, but there's different administrative tasks. There's things like, implementing Salesforce, that if we had somebody who knew how to do that, that would be very helpful to move forward with having a customer relationship management database. So kind of any of those skills that you have, being able to bring those to the table, knowing what you're good at, and then letting us know so that we can cultivate that relationship together is really great. Like, we have a web guy who just does it for us, and he is phenomenal, but he came to us like, I believe in this, I want to help, and here's the ways, in my talents.
Yeah.
And I can give you my time with my talents, kind of an in-kind gift, so to say.
What I like about that, and I think so many and Jenae, we were just talking about with Jenae, right? I mean, financial contributions are important, donations are important. So many charities reach out for contributions and contributions alone, right? And so how many times do we get solicited in the year, and it's, hey, we need this money, we need this money. And there's so few nonprofits that sit back and ask the question of, well, what needs do we have, and are there donors who can meet those needs, as opposed to just write us a check and let's go hire someone else to do it. I love the approach that you guys have taken, where you've seen time and talent on equal footing as treasure. And to have people and say, hey, I want to contribute. And perhaps there are people who say, I can't write you a $4, $5, $6-figure check.
Yeah.
But what I can do is I can set up a system for you that will save you a $4 or $5, $6-figure invoice. Right? And I admire the way you guys have done that. Innovation. What do we say? Necessity is the mother of all innovation. Yeah. And you guys have done that so well. For volunteers who want to help, how should they reach out?
Sure. So the best way, you can always reach out on Facebook, Instagram, any of the social media accounts. But like I said, there is the how to help, and you can choose the volunteer portion, and it's actually a contact form that you fill out, and it sends right to us. And then we kind of get you going through your clearances. We do like an open orientation so you can learn more. And then we also do an in-shop orientation, which you mentioned. I had done a couple of those to fill in. So that's all we ask. And then after that, it's just 3 hours a month is the time commitment we're asking, whether that's, you know, in the shop as a volunteer or sharing your time and talent. It's really all is wonderful.
And that was actually my next question, which was the volunteers, if they're working with kids, they'll need clearances. Is that something that when they sign up to volunteer, they can get walked through how to do that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we have an entire instruction set. I think, you know, we have 100 active volunteers now, but I think over the course we've registered 150. So we've kind of been through it.
Okay.
We have all the paperwork. We know what needs to be done. You know, we have the first orientation meeting, the second one, then you shadow for about 6 months because it's a lot, right? You're like kind of almost walking into a business and you have to learn how to run it, you know, one day a month for a while.
That's really neat. So if someone's interested in volunteering, they should reach out. Don't worry about the logistics. Don't be. It's, you know, all the daunting tasks of getting your clearances and figuring out what to say to who. Don't worry about it. Don't sweat it. The team at the Kindness Project will walk you through it.
Yeah, absolutely.
The website one more time is thekindnessprojectlv.org. If someone wants to follow you on social media, Jenae talked about often on social media they'll do these quick drops on Amazon wish lists and things like that. If somebody wants to follow what tag? So did it still call it tag?
I think so.
What tag should they be following?
It is Kindness Project LV. So if you search it on Facebook, it's like the Kindness Project.
Okay.
But the actual like tag portion is Kindness Project LV.
Facebook, Instagram, you guys are on all of it.
Yeah, we're on Twitter, but I will admit I'm not 100%. I know it's slightly different than the other two, and I'm not on Twitter, so I don't have it memorized. I apologize.
No need to apologize. Last question. You've been with this group for a bit.
Yeah.
You spend a lot of your time committed to them. What has that meant to you?
It's meant a lot. Yeah. I think that, you know, to share a little bit about myself, I'm slightly younger and I don't have kids. I just have a husband. It's him and I and our 2 cats. And I feel like a lot of the time, arguably, yeah. So a lot of the time I feel like people come to me and think I'm not busy. I don't have things to do. And they don't realize I actually have like 1,000 kids that I help. So it's been a lot to me because I don't know that that's something I want to pursue, but I have this wonderful opportunity to serve my entire community through foster children, providing them with dignity and an opportunity for tomorrow. So it's almost like I've gained something I thought I might never have, and it's really it's really special. I love it.
That's beautiful. Takira, thank you for serving. Thank you for investing in this community. Thank you for joining us and for talking about your work at TKP.
Yeah, thank you, Sam.
Well, I want to thank both Jenae and Takira for joining us, and of course for the countless volunteers that support the mission of the Kindness Project. You can too. Just visit their website, kindnessprojectlv.org. My name is Sam Chen. On behalf of all of us here at Face the Issues, thank you and good night.